Here we are, guys. The time has finally come. This is the beginning of the end for one of the greatest anime ever. Attack on Titan, the final season. Part 2 is here with its very first episode, and we kick things off immediately from where we left off. No recap, no nothing, just jumping right back into things. And what a sight to return to indeed, as we have Hange clutching onto the body of Levi, who had previously engaged against Zeke, who had transformed his entire squadron into Titans, which he had to single-handedly take out Zeke himself, only to then be on the receiving end of Zeke's gamble as he blew up a thunder spear, which was within very close proximity. But even despite being unaware of how this all came to pass, this was definitely a shining opportunity for the Jaegerists, as Levi is way too dangerous to have on the battlefield. I mean, the possession of Levi in and of itself is essentially the possession of a secondary army. And so to have him in such a state is no doubt a crippling blow to those who would resist them. However, the interesting thing about this is that previously they had actually been comrades, and so they are well aware that they should not underestimate Levi, and because of that decided they should double tap him, shoot him in the head to be sure that he is definitely dead and out of the picture. Hange does attempt to convince them that Levi is already dead, and even goes as far as to depict a picture of his death by mentioning the thunder spear, but it is not enough to convince them because, again, you should not underestimate this man. And Hange, presumably detecting signs of life here within Levi despite his injured state, knew how detrimental his definitive death would be, and so despite Flock's demands, she remains resistant and says not a word, and thankfully his attention is drawn elsewhere as a Titan is suddenly drawing in air. And this pulling in of steam is abnormal, and you know that Titan behavior is abnormal when Hange, a foremost expert in Titan physiology and behavior, denotes it as such. However, as opposed to the Titan itself, the true cause of interest here happened to be Zeke, who was in fact in perfect condition here now. He had not a scratch nor blemish on him, however, his expression was strange. I mean, he stood here as if he had just seen God, which actually isn't too far off the mark, I suppose. However, with such a substantial distraction, Hange was able to flee with Levi. However, despite Zeke's prior sentiments towards Levi and dealing with him, here, he is seemingly indifferent. He's very slow in both his movements and his speech, and that is on account of the experience he had, as while within the Titan he found himself elsewhere, being treated by a young girl who we may recognize to be the founder, Ymir. The location of this interaction, of course, being the path, the place in which all Titans and subjects of Ymir converge and are interconnected. Now, Ymir does something very miraculous here for Zeke that is a bit strange, as she remolds him by way of the sand that makes up this place. She spends time reforming his body, and this time for Zeke feels as though it could have been years, but also like a moment. It's indescribable in nature, but definitely had a definite impact on him in regards to his perception of time, which would explain his current situation. Now, the reforming of Zeke's body here is especially fascinating, and this isn't something that is so unorthodox or unheard of for a Titan shifter to regenerate their severed limbs or missing body parts. However, with Ymir doing this here, it adds a new level of depth to our understanding of how exactly they do manage to reform themselves. It is in this instance that Zeke is able to recognize and perceive the process to which it is happening. However, we may presume that it is happening at all times whenever they do in fact regenerate, which of course only makes the importance of Ymir as a figure, as a founding Titan the first, all the more clear. Now, not that the convictions of Zeke are in question or anything, but I must say that despite being stuck in the very same position, unmoving for what felt like years, Zeke still remains intent on his plans. When he does come to, it only takes him a little while to get back on track and resume the plan, intending to move forward with his brother EREN. Now, the hype for the end of this season is only made that much greater thanks to this incredible opening sequence, but more on that in a separate video. Along with the ending sequence, we will be breaking that down with another video, so please stay tuned for that. But yeah, again, there is no recap. We are just jumping right into things as we immediately make our way back to the interior of the walls as EREN is assuming his Titan form. doing so in response to the betrayal of Peak and the sudden appearance of the Jaw Titan Portico. Despite Gabi's concerns and fear of their betrayal, these guys are soldiers through and through. They don't care. At the end of the day, if nothing else, they are loyal to their comrades. And although a lot of us are Team Paradis, and more specifically Jaegerists, it's hard not to respect the convictions of these characters regardless of whatever side they claim. But now we finally have this invading force. Marley is finally making their move on the island of devils. They are here and they are attacking, going full throttle and attempting to save the world, at least from their perspective. And it is in situations like this, moments like these, where I am just reminded of how far we have come with this series. I mean, beyond shifters, there is not a Titan in sight, which definitely serves to highlight the end of the Titan era that has been spoken about previously. Peak manages to be freed and shift thanks to Portico's intervention, slicing off her arm, and from which point we have the attack Titan EREN versus the Jaw Titan Portico once more, a sort of mini rematch for last time. And good lord, I do not think I will ever get over the appearance of the Cart Titan. I feel like they just keep getting worse and worse. This thing is horrendous to look at. But yeah, like EREN is able to discern, this attack from Marley is very, very desperate. Their backs are against the wall and they are just lashing out here, which of course gives room for error on their part, and considering how tactical EREN has been, he will no doubt be able to find a weakness or an opportunity to capitalize on. Now Yelena, seeing this, attempts to get EREN to retreat, but he has no intentions of doing anything of the sort. I mean, he just looks at her for a while and then makes his way elsewhere. That boy EREN is about the action. No way is he retreating here. No way is he sitting and hiding from Marley in this situation. No, he is here for a fight. The former people in power hid behind their walls, but EREN is different. And he isn't here to fight just anyone. He is here to beckon the armored titan REINER. If you want to talk about a grudge match, if you want to talk about revenge and beef, these two have it. And this is hype. These two going toe to toe, blow for blow, is the sort of content we definitely want to see to close out this magnificent series. I mean, if you're an anime fan, a clash of rivals is just one of the best things that can happen. Now, thanks to Peak, we have Gabi reunited with Manga, and this man has definitely changed. I mean, he immediately hugs Gabi and scolds her similarly to how a father would. And when he hears about Falco, when he hears that he ingested some of Zeke's spinal fluid, he is distraught. Meanwhile, in this situation, these Eldians should mean nothing to him, but instead, he is a big softie. However, he is no longer a commander. He has since been promoted to general. Now, in assessing the situation, these Marleyan forces come to the conclusion that since EREN has not used it, he has yet to fulfill the criteria of the founding Titan's power. However, they also presume that Zeke will be the key to possessing that power, and so they cannot allow the two to come into contact with one another. They are aware of the enemy's trump card and need to play around it and deal with this threat before it comes to pass. And boy, are these Marleyans self-righteous. They consider this battle here now to be a fight for the world, a fight for mankind, as opposed to just being their beef with the Eldians. And to be fair, considering the theatrics and carnage of EREN's prior transgressions, you can't exactly blame them. He here is a supervillain. He to them is the equivalent of a Julius Caesar, a Genghis Khan, an Adolf Hitler. He needs to be stopped. But what's more is that to combat such a figure, they seem to have brought up a figure of their own in the form of a hero that we presume to be REINER, as he is the one who was able to convince them to engage this fight to begin with. And of course, considering REINER's prior disposition and desire for glory, it makes sense and is also very ironic. We are blurring the lines between hero and villain a whole lot with this series. It used to be a whole lot more straightforward, but now there is way too much nuance to really be able to definitively say who is right, who is wrong, and who is a villain and who is a hero, if such things even exist, considering history is written by the victors. But regardless, they are not here to postpone the problem. They are here to extinguish this 2,000-year-old threat, to conclude this dreadful chapter of Titans within human history. what is a very tall order, pun intended. Now EREN goes up against REINER and he is nothing to play with. He is just thrashing this man and lays him out pretty easily. However, the Jaw Titan does engage in the battle as well, and then it becomes a handicap match 2-on-1 versus EREN. And now EREN does possess the powers of the Attack Titan and the Warhammer Titan, so you could say that the battle isn't too one-sided. However, it is very difficult to deal with these two combatants despite the tools available to him. So much so that REINER begins to underestimate EREN. That is, before EREN triggers the power of the Warhammer Titan and is able to pierce both of them simultaneously, which does immobilize them for the time being. From there, some Paradise forces begin to move, attempting to finish off these two Titans with the Thunder Spears. However, things take a turn as Pika is able to deliver a massive blow across a great distance to EREN's Titan form. A direct shot to the head, which now renders him immobile. Now, I did say peak, however, she is more or less just the mobile aspect of this, as it was in fact the now General Magath who was able to deliver this blow, as he is a rather renowned sniper, the best in fact. But now, given this opportunity, both the Jaw and Armored Titan would begin to move again, whereas EREN was definitely vulnerable. And with that, on account of the use of technology, the tide has shifted very tremendously again, reinforcing the message that the era of the Titan is coming to a close. But don't get it twisted, this smoke is not reserved for Titans alone, as these boys out here were getting lit up. Marley definitely has some shooters. And I say that jokingly, but I am entirely serious at the same time, because this is a empire, a country that has a history with firearms at this point. Understand that on top of their use of Titans, their Titan forces, they also had to battle against other humans, as opposed to these Eldians on Paradis who just had to face off against Titans and adapted for that sort of thing, which is why they have maneuver gear, which is why for so long they use comparatively primitive blades as opposed to guns, because guns aren't exactly going to do anything to Titans, or at least they wouldn't have previously. Plain and simple, they were not built to face off against other people, against other humans. But here they are, making themselves enemies of the entire world all the same. But getting back to EREN's situation, he is still not moving. However, REINER has gotten back to his feet and has removed the massive pike from his own body and lunges it forward into EREN's. At which point he begins to think to himself that they should end it all, that this is the end of the road for EREN, this is the end of the fight, and this is it. Thinking that everyone has suffered enough, that EREN himself has suffered enough, and really, this man is just delusional. He is really all in on that hero complex. It is crazy to see. From there, we have Onyankopon, who frees the prisoners from their cells, and for the most part, nothing all too remarkable is said here. This is mostly just stuff that we already know and have been over. Armin doesn't believe that EREN actually wants to go through with Zeke's plan for Eldian infertility, as it doesn't seem like an EREN thing to do. However, the others aren't exactly so thoroughly convinced, because EREN lately has not been doing things that they would expect him to do at all. So yeah, it's a difficult sell. Mikasa still wants to save EREN, however she is conflicted because she is unsure of her feelings at this point, whether or not they are actually her genuine feelings or simply her Ackerman genetics defending the founding Titan. Meanwhile, there is blood flowing through the streets, and EREN is still being pierced by REINER here and is just making a whole lot of noise. Things are looking very interesting right now, and the battle has only just begun, so there is definitely a whole lot more excitement to be had with the end of Attack on Titan. I really hope you guys enjoyed the episode and our coverage of it. Between the end of Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer Season 2, anime in 2022 is definitely off to a fantastic start, and similarly to our coverage of Demon Slayer, where we have been just pushing out video after video, you can definitely expect a similar sort when it comes to Attack on Titan as well. So be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on, because when it comes to bringing you some of the best Attack on Titan content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm SliceofOtaku. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day. I love you.